Welcome to Wisdom and Laughter with DZAR. We're so excited to be able to bring these hangouts to you every 2 weeks to be able to share DZAR's most beautiful and amazing message with you all, their frequency, their wisdom, their joy, and of course their laughter as well that they bring us all. So welcome, Mary and Gary. Thank you so much for joining us for these hangouts. It's so exciting to get started with them.
Thanks, Lee. We're really looking forward to it. It's fun to do something new. This is such a different format, so it's really, we're excited about it too. It's great. Yes.
Fabulous. Well, I'm going to begin with your official bio, and then I'll do the introduction from my perspective, and then we'll let you share your story as well. Mm-hmm. So the official bio from Mary and Gary, they are best-selling authors who share the messages brought forward by DZAR, a group of compassionate energies from all that is. Mary and Gary both have over 30 years experience working with people to create change in their lives. And since 2008, they've become the vehicle for the message channeled from Spirit called The Path of DZAR. Originally from Melbourne and now living in the beautiful Northern Rivers region of Australia, most stunning piece of land, it's incredible. They travel the world offering workshops and private readings to help people to step into a closer connection to their soul and the wisdom and guidance that it offers. In December 2012, Mary and Gary were key speakers and facilitators at the first World Parliament on Spirituality in India, an event endorsed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They have spoken at the Edgar Cayce Center in New York and many others in USA, Europe, and Asia. So my introduction of Mary and Gary and DZAR, personally, I've known Mary and Gary for well, quite a few years now, and it's right from the start. It's just been such a joyous, such a natural, amazing friendship with them. They're such down-to-earth, beautiful people, and it's so perfect that that DZAR speaks through them, because they set the tone of the joy and the wisdom and the laughter and happiness that is shared through DZAR. And the teachings that DZAR are bringing forward through them are so deep and profound, and yet the processes that they share are so simple as well. So it's such an incredible journey that they take us on, going from shifting out of places of fear, anxiety, which is what I was feeling very deeply when I first started speaking with DZAR. And since talking with them and applying the practices that they've shared, I've shifted away from that, and now I live so much more from a space of love and compassion and just a really deep peace within myself as well. So that's why I'm so excited to share Mary and Gary and DZAR with you all, because I'm really excited about you all also being able to experience these same changes that I've shared, that I've experienced as well. So that's why we're doing it. So Mary and Gary, can you please explain to everyone how your connection with DZAR first began? Because it's quite a cool story.
You're going to kick that one off, isn't it?
Yes, okay. Well, it was quite an extraordinary story. We were in Colorado in a little place called Crestone, right up in the Santa Crista Mountains, about 10,000 feet above sea level. And it was, we were there for a conference, and at the end of the conference, there was like a big dinner and everything else like this. And I had this feeling, and I was recommended, I had this feeling to go to a masseuse, which was a strange time to do it late on a Sunday evening. But there was a deep feeling that I had to go. And basically what happened is that in that one massage, I had past life experiences which I've never had before. My body, the amazing woman Marcia, who facilitated all this for me. She just thought it was also a normal massage, but she said that they've taken you to the next level of consciousness. I shook for 3 hours, physically shook. I couldn't hold a wine glass or anything at that stage. It was terrible. And I kept crying all the time. So I was crying with Marsha after the massage. I was crying as I walked into the restaurant and saw Mary in a packed restaurant. It was just this incredible flow of energy that was going through me. And so it was that event that started everything. It was... we'd always ask the question, both of us, there has to be something more. And then DZAR showed up, and it's pretty much begun from that a phenomenal experience.
But you know what's so interesting, Claire, is that when that happened, and what we thought was that it would be an immediate change. You know, so if there's a new level of consciousness, suddenly our whole life would be unrecognizable, almost. And interestingly, nothing happened. Nothing changed. It was just the same. We were teaching a great program, and we continued to teach that. But there wasn't this amazing transformation that we had expected. And in fact, it took nearly 12 months for us to, through a whole other lot of synchronistic events, to learn a process called channeled writing. And when we learned that, I would sit, and the way that I channel DZAR is by sitting and writing. I hear them and I write. And when we were doing this channeled writing, what was really interesting was I was getting lots of information coming through really easily, and Gary was getting very little at all.
This is the embarrassing bit.
And it's perfect, because it's a great example of how spirit and energy talk to us in our own different ways. There's not one particular way to communicate. So because Gary was getting so frustrated trying to write, I said, well, let's try something different. And we sat outside, and the idea was he would close his eyes and speak whatever words he heard or got, and I would write them. And I thought, then he'll get into the swing of it, and then I can give him the book and he'll continue on the way we've been taught to. Yes. And that was the first time that DZAR actually spoke directly to us. He closed his eyes, his head dropped, and you'll get to see this in a few minutes. And as his head came back up and his eyes stayed closed, I could just feel it was a different energy. There was something else, and that was the first conversation we had back in 2008. So it was really a very powerful early learning about not to have expectations when you start working with energy about how it's going to work, because we don't know that from the physical perspective at all, really. We can guess, but that's about it.
And DZAR still shares with us not to have expectations as well about how things are going to look, and not to expect them to come in a particular time frame either. So it's a nice way for it to start for you.
Yeah, it was perfect. Because of course the thing is, our expectations only come from that sense of who we are at the moment, what we think is possible, what we, how we think it might be packaged, and as we shift and change, that changes. So it's never fixed.
Yeah, that's right. And so, what are some of the key shifts that you've experienced in your own lives through working with DZAR's information? Because just because you channel DZAR doesn't mean that you are immune to doing, you're immune to life and all the perhaps not so enjoyable experiences that life sometimes throws at us. So I know that you've been using the practices in the same way that you share with others to use them as well. So Skylar's come in for the conversation. So what have been some of the key shifts in your lives through doing the practices that DZAR's shared, and some of the changes that have taken place?
Well, first of all, I think it's quite unfair that we have to do the work. No, not really. I think I'm just, to put it clearly and succinctly, I sometimes find difficult because there have been so many changes, and they've been subtle changes, because at one level, working with DZAR's energy, as DZAR comes through me, things happen. So I do get a benefit of not having to do too much. And then, and I think maybe they're more the superficial areas, but then when there's the real nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts, then they just won't talk at all, and so now I need to do something. And so one of the things, a greater awareness of the world around me, of one of the things that DZAR says is that there's no coincidences, and to actually be aware of that, to actually see that, you start to notice things in your world, how you shift, how you change, how you move, and you know these are simple things. So being a little calmer, being more aware, being able to channel the energy like for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and not get tired and still go out for a martini afterwards. If
and you had a funny experience yesterday. You were telling me about that whole sense of how the energy and the physical work together more clearly now.
Yes, that's right. I was looking for a brochure about how to set up our new phone, and I knew I hadn't thrown it out, and so but I knew it was somewhere in the house. I thought so. I was doing lots of thinking. I looked everywhere. Looked in here. Looked outside. Looked in the shed. Opened all these boxes, and I thought, oh well. I went to grab some rubbish and an eraser, and I was going to throw the rubbish in the bin and put the eraser back on Mary's desk. And what happened? They both went into the bin, and I thought, and I heard there's no coincidences. And so sure enough, I looked in the bin, pulled a few things out, and right where the rubber was, this was right where this brochure was, which was down under quite a few things. Now, I don't remember putting it there, but there it was. You know, I could have let it go, and my thinking mind gone, no, you just need to keep looking. You can get the eraser later. But no, I just heard no coincidences, so why did I throw that in the bin? There it was. I love that sort of thing, and that's just a tiny version of a much bigger set of events. Yeah.
It's funny little things.
Yeah.
And I think, DZAR's message is all about reuniting human and spirit, and so for me, the key difference has been living much more in a collaborative way between the energy and the physical me. Rather than in the past, I always knew there was that energetic component to me in the world, but I lived so much more in the physical that it was a tension. And our life before DZAR was great. I had a great family, we had great marriage, great friends, but there is a much greater sense of joy and guidance and being in the right place at the right time. So it is, wisdom and laughter is actually a great way to encapsulate what we experience.
Yeah, beautiful. And so let's bring Mr. Wisdom and Laughter in, not to be Mr., but...
All right. So I just put this the scarf on, and it has significance to me, and it also it somehow just prepares me for DZAR's space, and
so it's one of those funny things. It's not that you need the scarf. It's not like it's a magic scarf, but it's kind of it's a symbolic, it's a ritual, I suppose, a symbolism that now Gaz is stepping to one side, and this is what happens, is that Gary's able for his consciousness to step to one side and to allow DZAR to speak through him. And the way that happens is, unlike when I channel DZAR, I hear their words. Gary, when he shares what happens, he doesn't hear words, but it's almost as though there are packets of feeling and information that he receives from DZAR that he is then able to, that then turn into words. So it's very much that DZAR uses Gary's physical as the instrument to articulate in a way that we can understand it. And at the same time as the words coming out, what also happens is the frequency conversation or the energy transmission. So DZAR is a compassionate energy. They're a pure energy of creation. And we are all made of that same frequency. So as we sit, we feel that connection and we share it. And we start to shift and change just by being in the presence of this frequency, as well as what we consciously understand, and we begin to work with the information they share. So when Gary comes back at the end, what's always interesting is, as he said before, he's never tired, and he doesn't really remember much, if anything, of what's said. What he's left with is a feeling of the interaction rather than the detail. So welcome, DZAR, to our first Wisdom and Laughter gathering.
Welcome, DZAR.
Welcome, welcome, young ones. So what do you wish to understand, young one?
So today I'd really love you to be able to share, Zar, why you've come forward at this time, and an overview of your message that you have to share with humanity, and the changes that you see taking place with that message.
2 minutes.
If you can, in a few minutes.
Which is tricky because there's no time. There is where we are.
We're quite used to early questions. So, young ones, why we are here is to reunite human and spirit. You see, so much of your humanity has been separated from your beauty of self. We understand that so many of you have also heard this message before. And you see, what we are here to do is to move you through this message, not through your thinking, but through your knowing, by returning you to the memory that exists as this true you that exists within you, around you, all over this universe. It is to return your beauty, because you see, your world will shift because of you. When there are more beings that have an awareness of their sameness of all that exists around them, that then there is no separation between you and the one next to you, between you and nature. There is this knowing. Your world will be different. Your world will react differently to you. That is why we are here. That is your purpose, young ones. Oh.
And the lovely thing, of course, is as we start to shift and change so that we become this new energy that allows the world around us to change, we become the change first. And we experience that connection and the joy and the ease. And then that's the energy that then flows from us and creates a transformation.
And so why is it such an important time now, Zar, to have this message brought forward?
It's an important time now because humanity has deemed it to be so. You see, young one, after your 2012, it was a beautiful time for focus. So much of the world's energy was focused upon this calendar. But what your world was focused upon, finally, was this expression and this energy of self. It really didn't have a great deal to do about the calendar. It was always going to end. But humanity, you see, there needed to be a place where there was focused awareness for a shift, for a change to begin. It is what occurred. And that is why now there is such a great moment in humanity where there is enough aware beings here now to create a shift within your planet, to create a space where you are ceasing your wars, ceasing your discrimination, that you are starting to work together. Then what will the nightly news do? Oh, they'll be out of a job. But it is so possible, young ones, because of you. We're just responding to you, you see. We're messengers. Oh.
Thank you, Zar. Unfortunately, we've pretty much come to the end of our time now, but I know that so much more of your message is going to be shared over the next several or many sessions of these Hangouts with you. So and I know that a lot of it, of your teachings, are going to come through with that. So just before you go, next week we're going to be talking about what it means to be spiritual, and one of your favourite topics is also whether we need protection when we're doing spiritual work. So have you got anything that you'd like to say about that before we finish up today?
Are you sure you really want to go there?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to look forward to that. Do you need protection? There's a little question we're going to ask you all, but we'll save that till next week, you see. All this about protection. Truly fascinating. What we would suggest to you is that you do begin to listen. If you wish to reunite yourself to your true knowing of self, does the true knowing of self really need protection, young ones? Oh. Better get all the padding on for the soul then if it needs it. So there you go. Off you go then.
Thank you, sir.
Do you need to be spiritual? That's a fun one as well.
That's right. Given that you don't want us to be spiritual at all, that'll be a great conversation to have.
We don't know how you cannot be.
No.
Farewell. No, we love humans. We truly love them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Gary's joining us again now. We're going to finish up, but if you'd like to find out more about the work that Mary and Gary do, you can find them over at thepathofzar.com. I'll put the link below if it's not already, and you'll find there over 60 hours of beautiful information. There's podcasts of the of the previous radio shows that we've done before, that Mary and Gary have done. There's free meditations and lots of amazing information over there. And if you'd like to ask any questions to have ZAR answer them in future Wisdom and Laughter sessions, then pop over to blissrevolution.com and go to the contact page there. I'll also put that link below. And then we'll use your questions as future future subjects for these hangouts. How are you feeling, Gary?
Wow, these quick bursts of ZAR just sent me off into space. But I'm okay. Oh dear.
A quick trip to space.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today, and we look forward to talking again in 2 weeks' time, all about what it means to be spiritual and do we need protection when we're doing spiritual work.
Oh, thank you, Claire.
Thank you so much, Claire. Lots of love.
Bye.
Pleasure, lots of love. Bye.
Bye.